Hello, everybody. Welcome to Realtor Reputation. I am Apryl Lopez.
And I'm Shannon Howard-Bisordi.
And we are excited to share this episode with you. Episode 7. It's hard to believe.
I know.
That we're already there.
Flying by.
We did miss a week. I'm sorry. We apologize. Life took over, and that happens sometimes. We are working moms, and we do have full-time jobs.
We do have full-time jobs. We had a lot of homecoming and stuff going on.
Homecoming, kid stuff, like life.
Sports games.
So, needless to say, we are excited because let's just jump right into it. Our mom moment of the week, if you can't already tell, somebody went to the game. And funny story is Shannon texted me Sunday morning and says, hey, guess where I'm heading? And I was like, hey, guess where I'm heading? We hadn't even talked about it. Because we hadn't seen each other the week. Yeah, right. we did see each other the week before. And actually, my husband, Keith, was like, wait, did you not know she was going? And I was like, I haven't seen Shannon. Like, we were busy. And so anyway, we both went to the Niners Cheifs game. Yeah.
And this was my first time ever going to a Niners game at the stadium.
Uh-huh.
I had been many, many years ago, like in high school or something, back at Candlestick.
At Candlestick, yeah.
So it was like really exciting. And as you know, I'm a Travis Kelce, Pat Mahomes fan. And we went with my stepmom, Patty, and sister Cameron, which was like super fun. It was supposed to be like a girls' day, like Cameron's birthday. And Patty's like a secret Pat Mahomes fan too. She's like the cutest and the best. But she's like, I got to wear my 49er gear. So Mark, my husband, was like really nervous because when he was a kid, he used to go to Candlestick and he's a Rams fan.
Uh-huh.
And the 49ers fans used to throw ketchup and squirt ketchup bombs and mustard bombs at him. So I was like, you can't wear Chiefs gear.
There were so many Chiefs fans there, though.
I mean, like, it was amazing. I kept saying, my people! And I was like high-fiving in my head, like this husband and wife in front of me. My peeps!
No, I was cheering for the Niners.
Yes.
I had all my Niners.
And we were like right in front of like the Chiefs, like where I think you were on the side too. And I like zooming in and got my close-ups.
I think Travis was feeling down and out that day. He definitely sat on the bench a lot, on his downtime. I think it's probably because
Tay-Tay's not there.
Well, she wasn't there and then did you watch the new Heist podcast this week?
Oh my God,
his entire FOMO. But I think it's because he had so much FOMO because his entire family was at the Eras
tour. I
think I
must have watched those videos of the Eras tour like 100 times.
With her and like her new, of course it was the thing. Bea was like, did you see her new outfit?
And like how perfect was it that she like comes out and it's like pouring rain and she's got like her reputation.
And everybody said that it was like such a vibe. And I think he just had FOMO.
He said he had FOMO.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but his like nieces were there and Bo Allen and, Mama Kelsey.
Yeah.
And then the funniest part of it all, I think, was that the one where Jason looks like he's sleeping.
Oh.
And then on the new Heights, he's like, I was not sleeping. I was vibing. I was like, you get the music.
You could see my hand tapping.
Yes.
I wasn't sleeping, but he's like,
that photo went viral like in 5 minutes.
Totally.
It was the best.
Totally. But the game was great. Although the Niners didn't win, we would have preferred. It was our first time at the stadium too. We had always gone to.
Oh, that was your first time there too?
Well, we had obviously went to the Eras tour there, but I've never been to a Niners game there. And it was really just because it's so far.
It is. I mean, that was a long day. So it was. Yes. So the funny part of my story was, so we were like planned this like girls trip and my stepmom had reconnected with her cousin like the week before. Like they hadn't seen each other. And she's like, my husband and I have season tickets.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing to go there and park. She's like, you should come with us because you could like park at our house in Sunnyvale.
Oh yeah.
And go. And then that way, we'll show you all the ropes.
Yeah.
And we go to all these tailgate parties. And like, okay, like what is happening? So we show up and she decides that they're painting their house. So she's not coming. So instead we get this, like I call it like the big old Uber, like, Cadillac, like Escalade, suburban thing pulling up to get us with like the 49er flags.
Oh, flapping. Like full on.
And it's her husband's friend. And he's like something.
Wait, did he just drive you there?
No, so he went because they have season tickets.
I
He
see.
had
So
the
he
white
was
ticket.
okay, got it.
So he's like Mr. Google, like was calling him. He's like this like big fancy Google guy. I don't even know. The technology just goes woo over my head. And so he's like, oh yeah. So like, you know, it's like we're going to like a fraternity party or something. He's like, oh, these people, you know, I know them, and we're going to this. He was in a rock band, and we're going here and there. And we're just like, okay, like we have like no idea like what we're doing. We have like. We're like so like such virgins to this, you know? So like we thought we were cool because like we had brought some snacks and in our clear bags, like, you know, read all the instructions, and we've got like our champagne bottle with our mimosas, and we're like, we're gonna have like a mimosa, you know? So he like, we park and we go to this like tailgate party, and it's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Intense.
I mean, I'm talking like tailgate parties for miles. Like, I mean, legit, like full on big screen TVs.
I didn't even think you could do tailgate parties.
Oh no,
at that
it's
stadium.
a thing. So they actually have like sheriffs watching, and like police. So we go to this one. I think it's called Third. Like we'll post the link. Third Rail Niners. And it's like they've made a whole business into this, and they've been doing it for like 40 years. You go and you pay. There was probably like 100 people there. Barbecue. 4 huge TVs. It's all decked.
You said full bar, everything.
Full bar, free, just donation, and then it's $20 for the like lunch, full like pulled pork, chicken, like barbecue spread.
That's crazy.
And then there was like one of the guys is from, I told you the band. His name's Craig, and he's from what was the band?
Oh, the
Forbidden, it's like a rock band, and he was like super cool and welcoming, like totally cool.
Lacero?
Yeah,
I don't know how to say it.
Down to earth. I mean, it was like hilarious. But here's the deal. So I got a little bit nervous because Mark kind of scared me the day before
about wearing Cheifs gear.
So I had this shirt I had ordered, and then I was like, shit, what do I do? So I go over to Dick's Sporting Goods. I got also my red shoes.
Of course.
So I go to Dick's.
Shannon's matching.
And I'm like, God, am I really going to buy a 49er shirt? Like, this is like, can I really like justify this? Then, you know.
Shannon obviously was going for the Cheifs.
Yeah. So I find a Brock Purdy shirt because, you know, he's number 13. So I put that on over this, and the whole day I was like, and I would have this shirt on, and I'd be like, and then the Cheifs fans are like, yeah.
Shannon sent me a video of her in her Niners jersey and then showing me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it.
It was hilarious.
I can't believe you.
When we got into the stadium finally, and then we went to some other tailgate party, and the guy's like, oh yeah, this is my other friend. He usually has like strippers here. And then we met some of the people. I'm like, clearly, like, let's get out here.
You got there early. We didn't get there that early.
We got there at like 11. And so we had like lunch and drinks before we went in. And then by the time we got in, we had great seats, but it was so hot, as you know.
Yeah.
So I was like downing the those giant lemonades. But it was such a vibe. It was so fun.
There was so much energy in that stadium. We brought our kids, and we got there. We had to park. My husband has an office that's close by, so we parked at the office. And then we walked. Then we just walked in.
That's smart.
So it was like a mile walk or whatnot.
Well,
but
it's worth it.
By the time we like got through security, and you have the clear bag, whatever, but they still like fully check your bag.
Oh no, it's full.
And I'm like, holy cow.
I feel good about like this
settled.
is safe.
But we sat down, and I was like, my husband's like, oh my God, I'm so hot. And just about me, I don't like being in direct sun when it's on my face.
No,
because,
do you have a hat?
Well, I wore a hat, a baseball cap, but I just don't like to be in the sun.
I was still burnt.
I'm so pale that it's like, it's just not good for me and my skin, and I get hot. So it's like, you want to go up, but then it's so crowded. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot for me.
Well, then I finally waited in line because they had like soft serve ice cream. I kept seeing people like what they said.
That line was so long.
So I get almost to it was probably like right because our seats were like right.
Oh my gosh, I should have looked for you. You should have texted me.
I get almost to the front of the line after like 25 minutes. And the next thing I know, they're like, sorry, soft serve's out. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, I would have cried.
I found the dibs guy. I'm like, give me some dibs.
I would have cried.
I almost did. I almost did.
Well, and it's funny because I told my husband, I was like, why is everybody standing up? Like, can we sit down and like relax and watch the game? And he's like, oh no, that's not how NFL games work, hon. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? So these people in front of, like, they were excited and they were standing up. And so you have to stand up and sit down.
It's like church.
And stand up. And I was like,
like, go Chiefs.
It's like, I just thought I could like grab a beer and sit down and watch the game. I didn't
And
know
the
it
guy
was
that ran in front of
happening.
us was like so funny. So he was like full on from like, he flew in from like another state. He's like doing the full like tongue. And I was like, okay, like, dude, like I'm sitting here with my shirt, but like,
It was
down.
a good game though. It was very it was an exciting
game. But to see them like so close, I was like taking my phone and like zooming in. My husband's like, did you see your boyfriend?
I was not doing any of that.
Oh yeah, I have tons of
I'm sure you do. We'll post a couple pics just of what our day looked like on NFL Sunday.
Mom's out of the house, but you had your kids.
I did have my kids. My kids really had a really good time.
It's really cool.
I will say that I drove my car and I forgot to plug it in the night before.
Oh, I knew that was gonna happen.
So we on the way home, I was clenched fist. We ended up stopping in Corte Madera and I thought I can charge there, but all of the charging ports were full or not operating. So we were like, okay, we'll just grab dinner at the Cheesecake Factory and I've got enough miles to get home. I got home with like 10 miles left on my car and I was like, ah.
But that's like the scary part of like not having a gas station.
I know.
And I mean, I don't think for the capacity of electric vehicles, there's enough charging stations.
Oh, totally. Okay, so
Next section.
Now let's go into our sneak it till you make it segment. What do you call it? Segment. Okay, cool. So we decided to do something a little bit different today. We are going to just come up and talk about a topic where I had an experience. I walked through a house with a colleague this last week, and it's a fixer-upper. And so I have an investor client who likes to buy houses, look at houses, flips, that sort of thing. But I just kind of wanted to dive into like, I don't know, like when you get in over your head with like a fixer or an investment. I mean, we're seeing this a lot in especially our market of somebody bought a house and they wanted to do a high-end flip and they are not contractors. They're just an investment client and they thought that they can flip it quick, do all of the work, put high-end finishes, and then obviously sell it for a profit. Well,
You mean like the shows make it look so easy?
yes.
They do it like in a whole episode.
In a whole episode. But the reality behind it is you really have to make sure that you're looking at your numbers and looking at your crew and make sure you have all of these things set up. Now, I don't know this seller's full story. I just know that I walked into this house and it's a great house. Like, I almost want to buy it for myself. Like, it's wonderful. But I already know, like, just walking through, I can see, I think you're probably very similar, where you can walk through a house and like, okay, here's an estimate for flooring. Here's an estimate
100%.
for drywall. Here's an estimate. Like, I can give you I can do some rough numbers in my head.
you know.
And I'm like, it's going to cost probably a good $800,000 to even get this house up to par for
The price that you want to get.
for the price you want to get, the size of the house, you know, with a high-end finish. And anyway, I just want to talk about flips and pros and cons, and not even just flips, but what we're seeing now in our community,
Even-
short-term rental investments, and now the limitations on short-term rentals, and people are buying these properties because they see a TikTok or an episode on TV.
Or they go to a seminar.
Or a seminar. And we do have restrictions in Sonoma County, and you can't just flip something to be a short-term rental. You have to make sure you go through all of those processes. But in addition to that, investment clients buying a flip property and thinking that they can do it for $100,000 and make $500,000. And the reality is it requires a lot of work.
Well, and I think like the two main things that you probably could attest to is the cost of materials varies. And I can tell you this because we just redid our kitchen on a budget flip.
Yeah.
You know, like we did we did the paint, the cabinets, we
Right.
ripped the whole kitchen.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
did the dipping.
So we did the dipping and everything, but I know it's still, by the time it was all said and done, about
Yeah.
$14,000 versus, $30,000, right? So we kind of did it, but we did a lot of the things ourselves. And we just, the counter estimates alone for quartz, we had like 3 different estimates, and they varied from $5,000 to $6,000
Oh, yeah.
per estimate. So
Yeah.
like once the same slab, same material could be $5,000 over here versus, $5,000 over here. Painters, as you know, are insane. Painters have like unleashed these prices. Like I will talk to clients and even our own colleagues.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I remember, hearing that somebody quoted $25,000 to paint like a downstairs of someone's house. That was like a 2-story that was probably like 1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
And then somebody else came in and, quoted $6,000. Somebody else was $12,000. It was like, when did painters start charging $25,000?
Right. But it's
I'm
also,
just saying, so when you're doing a flip, you have to know, like,
you have to do your due diligence as far as giving your estimates go, especially if you are not doing the work yourself.
And the cheapest guy, we've talked about this, is not the best. So my clients
absolutely
just bought a house. They went with a painter. They had some people and they had a great contractor they loved. And the contractor had a painter. But they chose to go with this other guy because he was less expensive and they were trying to keep it within their budget. Because when you are renovating or flipping, you have a budget. You want to try to stick with it.
Right.
However, the work was so bad that they had to fire him.
Right.
It took so long, and then they had to redo it all.
And it ends up costing you twice as much.
Correct. And they put the carpet in before the painting was done because they were going off of his schedule. So then that was a disaster.
Wow.
So, like you need a project manager. If you don't know what to do. It does not have to be a contractor because contractors can be very expensive.
Yeah.
But you have to know, and you have to know the contractor you hire.
Yeah.
Are they doing the work? Are they overseeing it? Or are they bringing in subs or randoms?
Right.
Because at that point, you could just bring in your own crew and you be the project
And
manager.
Then what is the markup for those subs? Because if you have a general contractor, there's going to be a fee just for them managing that subcontractor. So there's a lot of cost associated with a flip. And it's not saying that you can't do it, but also know the market that you're in.
And that's the other part.
Because you can buy a home for, this is a high-end home, right? So you're going to buy it.
A couple million, or are we talking?
They paid somewhere, I don't know the exact figure, but it was around like 1.3.
We could probably get like 2 or something.
And so if you flip it to be a high-end flip, you can probably sell it for around 2.2 to 2.5, somewhere around there.
Based on the neighborhood.
But the cost of materials alone it's very expensive.
Well, that's the other thing.
And not to mention, you can't hire the cheapest person because if you're trying to do a high-end flip, you need high-end work, right? So that comes at a premium.
And I think like we've really seen a lot and had a lot of experience based on the fires. So like a great example and an easy example is like up in Fountain Grove, right? Yeah. So there has been, I don't even know how many, but probably at least 100 different builders up there. Like, some built like mini subdivisions, some did semi-custom, some custom. And I remember like walking through some of these homes. So you could have like, 8 homes on a street, right? Yeah. And they could be done by 5 different people, right? And I remember walking into one and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And you could tell like the woodwork and the cabinets and the finishes. Then you walk across the street and you're like, did they like take these cabinets out of a mobile home? Like, what are these? They're like literally, no, but like, they make IKEA look high end.
Totally.
They're like so bad.
I get it.
And they want more money than the one across the street with the high end, materials. So there's a lot of like thinking that has to go into this and forward thinking. Yeah. And it's not just, I'm going to buy this and make a profit. Because that sounds easy.
What's happening in this scenario is it was a market where the cost was obviously during COVID. So it was an increased cost. And now we are not in COVID market. So he will lose money on the sale of this house.
So the other thing is we're not in a COVID market, but the contractors and the materials have not come back down.
Right.
So maybe the prices have, stabilized and come down a little bit, but the materials and the cost of contractors, like they still want that price.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just a gallon of paint that used to be $20, $25 is like $60. That's for 1 gallon.
It's so crazy. I've always had my husband do everything.
I
take that for granted sometimes because I'm like, it's a whole nother cost just paying for labor.
I think talking about like the market, I think there's, a few things to talk about this, but number one is we've talked about this before, but when you see a home and it does have like renovations, like they have a new kitchen and they have bathrooms, or they even have like nice floors. Yeah. It's painted, and somebody, even if it's not perfect, but it's clean and it's modern enough that somebody can move into it, that's what kind of generates those full price to even overages.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's trying to get into, let's say, $1 million home and they're trying to get the 20% or more down, they may not have $50,000 to $100,000
Right.
extra, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not everybody is cash and not everybody does. So that's why those people always go, well, I'm going to put my house on because this one down the street sold. Well, that one, his kitchen was done or, bathrooms were redone and yours is 1965. Like, you're not going to get that price.
Yeah.
And I think people have a hard time
I
understanding that.
saw a house recently it was a straight flip, and they flipped it as a Home Depot flip.
Oh.
As agents, that's what we call it, the Home Depot flip.
The Home Depot.
Which is...
Or I call them the...
To get it done.
Home Depot home warriors. That's when, like, they do it themselves. They're like...
Yeah, where you're like, oh, that tile was on sale. Or, yeah, those floors were definitely at a discount.
I mean, do you love when you go in and the floors are all... Or like the big old gap. Like the first thing I look at is like the big, and sometimes it's just like the subfloors, and even there's ways to like smooth it out.
And then
the gap between the base.
And then like the house was painted, but they didn't take care of any of the exterior dry rot, and you can tell they didn't. So I'm just like,
rule number one.
Like, what is this? But the relist price is at a premium.
Oh,
like way up there, and I was like, what are these people thinking? Like, I'm not going to identify which house this was.
But it's so bad.
But I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, and then cheap staging.
Oh.
Shannon knows a cheap stager. Shannon does great staging, we'll put it that way.
And the difference between... Now, I never will go in and say, like, I am a high-end stager, right?
Of course, I would never tell anybody, like, wow, this is the worst staging ever. But I keep it to myself. But I'm like...
When you're listing a multi-million-dollar house and somebody were to call me, like, I would, one, be buying probably new pieces for those homes.
Absolutely.
Or I have, like, really wonderful, like, referrals that I would refer.
Yes.
My couches are not $6,000
right.
that go into a stage.
Yeah.
Okay. I have nice furniture, but there are, when you are listing a home like that, there are certain pieces and looks that you need. I don't have original artwork.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's certain things that definitely stand out, and I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. It's not what I carry.
Right.
Now, there's a whole nother level to that, which is below mid-level. And that's when you go in and you're like, you straight up went to the Goodwill and Ross, and I don't even know, but when the painting has like metallic and then we went into one and like there was like gold and silver.
The pillows,
fan, the napkin.
The pillows were like they were the color of my fingernails, which is not an appropriate color for bedding.
I mean, there was this one house that was, even my clients were like, wow, this is eclectic. I hope they take this stuff with them.
I know, that's always the comment, like, none of this stuff is staying, right? Like, in the house may be wonderful.
And then it's even worse when it's staged and they're like, do they still live here?
Like, no,
right?
No, not at all.
And so anyways, I get complimented. Like, I have people that,
you do an amazing job.
You, but that do a good job when people are always like asking me, like, can I buy your thing?
Yes, that's always.
And I have somebody helping me, and we're actually doing a website, and I'm actually trying to get a link to some affiliate marketing where I could put the links of things on, because I go to...
a good idea.
Yeah, because I go to, like, Crate and Barrel and Pottery Barn and Restoration Hardware, and then I try to find the dupe.
Yeah.
Or, like, something, like, that's still nice, but looks like that.
Yeah.
So my clients appreciate that, because they can... Once you spend $1 million or $2 million in the house, they have to furnish it.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, I don't really know if I have $12,000 for a table.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Seriously.
Because what
I was buying outdoor furniture, and I was like, holy cow. I didn't even realize, like, just how real it's expensive.
It is.
And I needed, like, separate pieces, obviously, because I had a larger space that I had to, like, fill, but furniture is expensive.
Well, and I'd have to say that also happened, like, with the materials and in COVID. So, like, a great example is, I have a warehouse, and it's, like, busting at the seams.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a sale and get rid of things soon. But like, a simple plant, like, we use plants.
Yeah.
I used to be able to go to, like, Target or, wherever, Home Goods, buy one for $5 to $10. That same stupid plant is now $20. It's, like, doubled in price.
That's crazy.
A comforter, I have to wait for, like, the sales, and I go and I buy as many, like, nice pieces of white bedding as I can accentuate, because those used to be, $40 or $50. Those are $100. So everything.
That's crazy.
And then the U-Haul truck and the fuel, like, all of that is like gone up so much, and it's expensive. When I was going over my numbers the other day, and I was like, this isn't like very profitable just because I haven't.
Well, your costs have gone up.
Well, yeah, my costs have gone up, but I haven't.
But you still charge the same amount.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because I try to be budget friendly because I have a lot of colleagues and friends that believe so much in staging, and their clients, they're already like, well, we have to pay a commission, we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But I can give you 100 examples of houses that are beautiful, but they haven't sold because people are like,
they're sitting.
And the number one comment I hear is, the space is weird, or like, there's dead space. I don't know what to do with that.
Yep.
And it sounds simple, but even the virtual staging is a good idea. But when they walk into the space,
if they can't see themselves in the
like they know, like, well, you put a console table here and you hang, something for your keys, or you put a bench, or you do these things. It's very simple.
Yeah.
But they're just like, that's so weird. Or these bedrooms are so small, I can't fit my child's bed in here. And you're like, no, you can, but it just looks like a box.
Yep. Or even like a king size bed in a bedroom. That comes up a lot. I have a lot of clients who have a king size bed. They're like, can we fit 2 nightstands next to a bed? You have to see it. You have to envision. So,
and I think it's like a calming feel. Like you walk in and you're like, oh,
you want somebody to walk through that house and spend time in it.
Yes. And I think like the other thing is like most average people do not decorate like a stager or like a model home or like when you walk into Pottery Barn.
Yeah.
So to see that, it's actually kind of gives them like excitement, because sometimes we have to show them condos or houses that's maybe not like, I always say they have the champagne taste on the beer budget, but they're like, oh, but like I can buy this townhouse and it can look really elegant and nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to look like my, college furniture I still have. What I mean?
Oh, totally. Well, that's our snake it till you make it section. We just wanted to kind of dive into what our market looks like. I really
think that it's important to, and the last thing to say, is if you need someone to kind of give you numbers, call us. We can help you. We have, contract referrals, or we can estimate pretty well, like if that's a good flip investment.
Yes, absolutely. Do the numbers. Run your numbers, people. Well, that's it for today, episode 7. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. See you later. Bye.